Hello, everybody. So, you're probably thinking, why is Paul doing all these Google Hangouts? So, the reason is I'm trying to figure out how this thing works and trying to maybe get established a weekly, vegan meeting or something like that, and just see how can we use this tool to grow the vegan message. Um, let's see how change that a little bit. So I've got at least one person I think that may join in. I'm going to read a little bit of Diet for a New America as the beginning of this, and we'll see who jumps on. Of course, I tell you what, I'm gonna write my email address up here. It's rawandcookedvegan@gmail.com. So that's up there if you need to send me an email message if you're having any difficulty getting on to the Hangout. So anyway, let's hope that this thing records, because I did a half hour last night with Brian, and it got up on my YouTube thing, and there was no video there. So hopefully this one will work. I'm going to do a little excerpt from Diet for a New America by John Robbins. Classic. Great for people considering veganism. Lots of great information. I'm here on page 215. And this is more evidence. More evidence. In 1964, the heart specialist Dr. Paul Dudley White, renowned for his treatment of President Eisenhower's heart attack, went to visit the Hunzas of Kashmir to see for himself whether the claims were true that these people lived to exceedingly old ages without any heart disease. He did blood pressure, blood cholesterol, and electrocardiogram studies, yet found not a trace of coronary heart disease, even in the 25 men he studied who were over the age of 90. In his report, published in the American Heart Journal, Dr. White suggested a causative correlation between the Hunzas' diet style, which was almost pure vegetarian, and their astounding lack of heart disease. Scientists began to reason that if meat, eggs, and dairy products were in fact the culprits they were becoming to appear, then it would be expected that lacto-ovo-vegetarians who do not eat meat would have lower heart attack rates and lower heart disease mortality than meat eaters. If this theory were correct, pure vegetarians who consume no eggs, dairy products, or meat would have even lower rates. Numerous studies were undertaken to find out if this might be the case. One of the largest studies of this kind was conducted at Loma Linda University in California and involved no less than 24,000 people. Reported in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, this study found the heart disease mortality rates for lacto-ovo-vegetarians to be only 1/3 that of meat eaters. Pure vegetarians, truly impressive figures, only 1/10 the heart disease death rate of meat eaters. Other studies verified these findings. Lacto-ovo-vegetarians suffer much less heart disease than do meat eaters, and pure vegetarians suffer much less than do lacto-ovo-vegetarians. The meat, dairy, and egg industries were beginning to panic now and grasping for straws, suggested that other lifestyle factors such as smoking were to blame. The staff of the Medical Research Centre in Cardiff, Wales, took this possibility seriously and decided to check it out. Their major study statistically eliminated other lifestyle factors, including smoking, as variables. The mortality rate from heart disease was still found to be far less for vegetarians than for non-vegetarians. Even Time magazine got into the act. Never particularly known for taking controversial stands on dietary issues, Time did a cover story on the latest medical findings regarding cholesterol and heart disease and noted, quote, "In regions where meat is scarce, cardiovascular disease is unknown." You know what's amazing about this? This book was published in, this thing is copyright 1987. 1987, man. Come on, this is, and he pulled this from data that was existing. In 1987, now it's 2013, 2014. This should be Common.
Hi.
Alexis. Alexis, how are you? Pretty good.
I'm great, and you?
Good, good, good. I'm glad you were able to
Yeah,
get on. I wasn't sure if I would catch you in time, so I'm glad it did.
yeah. It's so strange because it actually didn't tell me anything that you called or anything. I just clicked on something, and by accident or by chance, I don't know how to say, I found out that I could just join
Good.
this and then I had no sound all the time, and I thought, okay, why is that? So, but it worked.
Good. Well, I hope I didn't put you to sleep reading all that stuff. Uh, but it's good to see you. What have you been up to? I heard you took a trip to Italy. How was that?
It was so nice. It was really great. I was first in Portugal, in Lisbon, and visited
Nice.
my parents there because it was my mom's birthday.
Okay.
So I spent 3 days there, and then I went to my friend's place in Italy. She lives close to Vicenza, and we went to like Venice and Verona and Vicenza. And then we did like one day where we went hiking up the mountain because she lives directly at the foot of the mountain. It's
Wow.
like everything is flat, and then like in front of her house, the mountain starts. So it's really beautiful. It was so nice.
I am
Yeah.
jealous. That is a beautiful part of the world. Very, very beautiful.
And I love Italy. The people there, they're so nice, and everything is just beautiful. Every time I go to Italy, for me, it's just holidays, and yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you deserved it. You'd finished your studies, right? So you're all done.
Yeah, I'm going to start my bachelor thesis next week, so and I'm doing an internship at the moment. So yeah, it's still a lot to do, but it's fun. It was
All right.
nice having vacation, yeah. Yeah. And I just came from my yoga class and I'm super chilled.
All right. So
Yeah.
any burning vegan topics you wanna get into?
Mm, let me think. Well, at the moment, what everyone is talking about is funny because everyone was first debating on whether raw or raw to 4 is better, and now I find like everyone is debating whether raw to 4 or starch solution is better. Like it tends to go in that direction. I don't know why. It's kind of funny because now there are so many videos online where they talk about this,
That's interesting.
and
And that seems to be verified by your experience. I've been poking around on the internet and I see your comments on different videos, and I feel like you've been kind of doing this for a while. You found out that it didn't quite work for you. So
yeah, yeah, it did not really work for me. What I'm doing at the moment is I have a lot of cooked foods, but also in between, like I snack on apples a lot, and if I want to, I've also like I eat fruits for breakfast, for example. But I find that I'm really balanced and I have a lot of energy, and it's so simple and easy for me if I just have like rice with something, or if I eat like gluten-free oats or something in the morning. Um, and I don't know, it's at the moment it was the last couple of days super cold here suddenly. Just
yeah.
wind was so freezing, so for me it was so nice to have something warm.
All right.
Uh,
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah,
I
and
so agree
actually,
with that.
yeah, what I find is that I'm more balanced and my digestion is better and my skin is better. And I don't know, it's easier for me,
Yeah. Have
and
you
I feel
found? I know that before you had a lot of allergies to certain fruits. Has that changed at all, or has that remained the same?
hasn't changed except that I got like more like allergic now. I'm allergic to peaches as well, so
Huh.
so it kind of became more. I don't know.
Bummer.
And I had a lot of problems with like I don't know why, but I cannot absorb copper from the food.
Huh.
So I have copper deficiency, and it's so uncommon that actually the pharmacies they have to order copper supplements.
Wow.
So It's really strange, and if you have a copper deficiency, it can happen that you get like an iron deficiency as well. So like a super bad iron deficiency. You know, like the normally it's between like a 100 and 200, I don't know, milligrams or whatever in your blood. And my doctor said, like, oh, when you have like when it's 70, people start to have like hair falling out and brittle nails and everything. And my was like at 7. So
Wow.
when he told me, he was actually laughing because he couldn't realize that because he couldn't just, yeah, for him it was so absurd that it was so low, and I
Wow.
was feeling really bad, and it happened so fast. So yeah, but
I wonder.
now
I wonder if
yeah.
you have you looked in at all to chromium. Sometimes I think on the high fruit thing there can be a chromium deficiency, and I wonder if that might be related at all to iron or copper absorption.
No, actually, I haven't had that on my radar yet.
Okay.
Because I didn't even think of that I would have a deficiency in iron or copper, because it like chronometer always says like 300 and something percent of copper and 150% of iron if I eat something after my day. So I thought I would get plenty of it, but I kind of didn't absorb it. So I don't
Very
know
strange.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I went for a couple of weeks there to the doctors and got like infusions with iron, and now I'm hopefully good again. So I feel a lot better.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Do you now, if I remember right, you eat plenty of greens and salads, don't you?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So I thought, because I eat so much salad, that maybe if I eat like a little less salad, that maybe my body absorbs it better than if I eat too much. And if
Huh.
I have like smaller portions, maybe that's easier for my body. So that's why I went a bit back to cooked foods, because you eat smaller portions, and I feel like my body isn't overloaded with having to digest this huge amounts of food. So,
Yeah.
and also I included a little tiny bit of salt, because I felt all the time, even though I was eating so many greens, that I had so bad salt cravings.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and it was not like I had to eat so much. It would have been enough just to have like a tiny bit piece of salt, and just like, I don't know, have it just to have this salty taste. I just needed it, and I don't know. I feel a lot better. I
Yeah,
just
that's
put
very.
like a pinch of salt in my food sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm not salt phobic. I think salt's okay.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I know some people are who are really concerned about weight gain. You know, the salt can add a little bit of water weight, but
yeah.
I just
Yeah, actually, I didn't experience that.
what's that?
I didn't experience that at all. I had it that when I was raw, that I tried eating something salty, and I was really puffy the next day. But I think it was too much salt at once. And now I put just a little tiny bit all the time, and my body is adjusted to it. So if there is a little bit of salt, flavor, or something, because I can still taste it immediately if it's salted or not, I don't have any reaction, and I find that my body doesn't hold that much water as if I was eating so much raw food.
That's very
I don't know.
interesting.
I feel actually a little bit leaner,
Huh. That's interesting.
not as puffy anymore. Yeah,
You know, it's funny.
yeah,
You're making me think of Swayze Foster and this thing that happened to her. It's not exactly related, but you know she was gaining weight eating a lot of fruit, and then she started adding more greens, and then her satiation changed, and she
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
need as much fruit. Yeah,
yeah.
and
Yeah. The thing
I
is,
wonder.
yeah, I tried eating a lot of fruit as well, like just fruits, or have like a little bit of greens in the evening. But I find if I eat, like, for example, ripe mangoes, I can eat just so much, and I have no satiation at all. Even though I just eat so much that my stomach actually hurts because it's just too much, and even though the calories are so much. and it doesn't last, and I don't feel satiated. But I don't have this if I eat, for example, brown rice. I just need like a tiny cup of brown rice and like a plate of vegetables, and I'm totally satiated, and it keeps me like it lasts for hours.
Yeah, you
It's
know,
very strange.
that makes so much sense. I think there's a lot of folks who we just really don't need all those calories. I mean, I
Yeah,
just it seems like there's quite a few people who do fine on moderate levels of calories. So yeah,
yeah, and sometimes I feel. I mean, for some people, maybe it makes sense to eat that much because they need it or some. But I always feel like if I just spend so much time eating so much food, I don't have enough time to do other things, and also that sometimes I feel like it's a little bit maybe a waste of food to eat just that much just because you can. And I just think, I don't know, it's strange, but
yeah,
people, they say, yeah, you can just eat so much and you don't gain weight because it's carbs. But I mean, if you could eat less, you don't waste so much food. I mean, I don't know how if it's logical for you, but
yeah. No, I think that's very logical. I mean, it's like it's just like almost common sense, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
So
yeah,
at the moment, I eat more cooked foods and I feel better. I just have to say I feel better.
yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know if
and
you've noticed, but it seems like I've had several interviews lately where the ethics have been at the forefront. You know, a lot of
yeah,
strong ethical perspectives, and I think that it's pretty powerful stuff.
yeah, yeah. I haven't watched all of them because at the moment I'm kind of busy a lot. So, um, yeah, but it's true. A lot of people upload at the moment very ethical videos.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, for me, it's still a little bit difficult because I do wear leather things and stuff like this. So it's for me, I it's difficult to call me just like a vegan, but um, I yeah, it makes just so much sense, and I'm like my mentality is so much like vegan mentality.
yeah,
The only thing that kind of keeps me from it also is that I find that a lot of vegans they um, focus so much on that topic alone, and they don't see, for example, their relationships to other human beings, and that
yes,
they
yeah,
kind of I don't know how to explain, but maybe don't see the relation or the yeah
yeah. I
that
think
is
that
it's
that's a good point. That's a good point. Now, on the same token, I have had some people say that as their consciousness for animals increased, then their awareness of other humans increased also. But I think you have a good point. You give a good point.
yeah, actually that's something I experienced as well. I mean, I do have a conscience and awareness for all these things, even though I still struggle a little bit um, to get this connection in certain areas. But yeah, I find that I'm more sensitive and more compassionate and for all sorts of things.
Yeah,
And for me, it's just horrible to think of people just being violent and in any kind of way. Or yeah, so at the moment, like in my internship, we're doing this art benefit charity auction where like a lot of artists, I think like 150 or a bit more international artists, they donate work pieces of art, and then we put it up for auction. So and all the money, the collected money, goes to like physicians of human rights in Israel so that they get medical support.
wow,
And
interesting.
that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm someone I'm always like for me it's so difficult to get into politics because for me it's so hard to watch how people behave because I find that it's just always so egoistic and just so out of proportion and they don't for me it's just so hard to grasp. So now I looked so much into it, and I still find it very horrible. But yeah, it changes your awareness again. So
You know, Alexis, I think that's a huge point because I think a lot of people in the vegan movement are, sensitive souls, and so you're not so inclined to get in an argument or to be aggressively assertive. You're naturally inclined towards a peaceful, interaction, and
yeah,
I think that's a strong point. That could be partly the reason that it's taking what might be a long time for these ideas to get out into the public because there's not a lot of people who just want to fight a war over it. But it's too bad. It's too bad people get so emotional that they get emotionally identified with their belief systems, and then it just becomes really unpleasant.
yeah, and it's so difficult to actually find the root of all these things and. That's also a reason why I always try to avoid politics because it's so hard to change things because you don't know the story of an individual and why he acts that way, and it's just so hard. So
Yeah,
I kind of respect people who try to
yeah.
change. It's,
But it's cool.
yeah,
It's cool that you're doing it. It's great.
yeah, it's at least a tiny thing I can contribute. I hope.
It's good. It's good. Um, I'm trying to improve my lighting here. I think my lighting's really
Yeah,
bad.
you have like a white spot in the middle, so it looks like you're illuminated.
I know. But anyway, so what else? Let's see here. Had an interesting chat about.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's really sad is my brother. He was like a vegetarian for a long time now.
Uh
For
huh.
well, not a long time, a couple of months. He like didn't eat any meat, fish, or eggs. So I think you call it lacto a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And he had no reason. He just doesn't want to eat it. So I thought, okay, I don't question it. But now he found out that he's actually like lactose intolerant,
Yeah.
so he cannot really eat dairy products. And for him, this is horrible because he was eating so much, like with every meal. That was kind of his base because he loved it. So now the doctor said, yeah, maybe you should eat some meat again because you will get more minerals from that and at least once a week. So now he's probably going to eat it once a week again, and I'm like, no.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And the
I was
problem
just
is he doesn't listen to me, like not at all.
That's a
Uh,
shame. That's a shame because I was reading just before you got on. I was reading from Diet for New America. John Robbins, and
uh-huh.
he was talking about some studies that they had done where um, the let's see, no, he was talking about some studies where they compared vegetarians and vegans and meat eaters, and
Yeah.
the the uh, the vegetarians did better in terms of cardiovascular disease than the meat eaters by like a third, and the vegans did exponentially better. So it's like
Yeah.
much healthier. I mean, it's healthier to be vegetarian, but it's much healthier to be vegan. So those he doesn't need those animal fats. That's a shame that the doctor's recommending that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad, but they just do this everywhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
and he just doesn't listen to me at all. Everything I say is just doing the opposite for him, so I kind of don't know how to approach it But even if I send him videos, because I recommended to him like, plant-based athlete just to look at it, because I thought, okay, maybe if he sees some like a guy who does sports and is like a little bit older and maybe has a bit of a wiser appearance, then he would maybe listen to it. But
is
for
he
him,
is he your younger brother or older brother, Alexis?
Younger brother.
Younger. Well, he needs to listen to
And
he needs to listen to his big sister.
yeah, he just doesn't at all. So yeah. So
Well,
I kind of try not to do anything because I fear that it just provokes like an opposite reaction. So
yeah. Especially with a guy, right?
yeah. So I'm going to visit them tomorrow. So I fly to Düsseldorf tomorrow for 3 days or so.
Okay.
And yeah, I will see how he's doing.
Well, at least one day a week is not as bad as 7 days a week. So
Yeah. Yeah, and actually if you eat just like once a week, it's totally fine. You're just as healthy as none, but yeah, I I don't know. I have to see what his take is on it, because if he just switches back, it's kind of sad. So
yeah.
it's like a step back. So
Yeah. So tell me
yeah.
more about your oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Say again.
Oh no, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. Tell me about this you're going to do is it your final paper for your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, it's this bachelor thesis I have to write. Yeah, and I kind of don't really have a topic yet, but I wanted to have one for next Monday so that I can register it and start. But
Okay.
yeah, I have to do some more research the next days and just try to find a nice topic. I know what like the area or almost the topic, but I just don't know like the exact phrase or the exact question. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm missing at the moment.
Gotcha. How about something like veganism in modern art?
Yeah, but I kind of already know the field, so it's about like utopian cities. With like this, there's this Argentine artist. He's living in Berlin at the moment. His name is Thomas Saraceno.
Uh-huh.
Um, and he does beautiful installations. It's amazing. And I want to compare him to like another artist who's from the Netherlands. So I have
All
to
right.
see how I'm going to phrase it.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, it's funny you say
Yeah,
utopian you say utopian cities because I think we're in a very interesting time. I think the technology keeps speeding up and the world is going to shift pretty
yeah,
dramatically. I think the next 20, 30, 40 years. It'll be fascinating to watch.
yeah, yeah, and aspects that actually fall into this theme. So it's not only how technology will look like or cities will look like, but also how people think and just how they act and behave and what they do. So it's just such a complex topic.
Wow.
And I find that what we're doing at the moment, it kind of falls into place with the utopian world. So that
It's
we try to be more compassionate and uh,
absolutely,
at least
absolutely.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, let's see, what
Yeah.
else? Are you being affected at all? I know, is it Angela Merkel is trying to negotiate for the Ukrainians and the Russians. Are you seeing any of that in the news, or you're not affected by that at all?
The thing is, well, I have not. I don't know how to say. Well, I don't have a TV, so I don't really watch news,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm kind of bad with the news, so
So
I kind
it's
of
understandable. It's understandable.
I should watch them more.
No, no,
I
no, no,
did.
no. But most of it's bad news, and there's not a lot you can do anyway. So
That's what I always thought, but still, it's good to know because we kind of do have a responsibility, and I think it's yeah, it's some like basic knowledge that we should all have. So
yeah.
it's a bit, yeah. I'm
Well,
a bit ashamed that I don't know more. So
no, 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 no. You're busy. You're busy with other things. It's it's only if you're interested, you know. So
yeah,
so okay. So once you do your thesis, how long will it take you to write the thesis, and then you submit the thesis and it's reviewed, and then do you receive your degree?
yeah, yeah. I have 2 months to write it,
Okay.
so I will be done by the end of October or the beginning of November, depends on when I'm going to register it. So yeah, and then I don't know how long it takes, maybe a couple of months to get my degree or something, or to get the response from it, the feedback. So yeah, something around that.
Okay.
And I want to start my master's then next year in summer,
Start
hopefully.
your. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Start your what?
My master's degree.
Your master's. Okay.
Yeah,
And will that be also
yeah,
in
yeah.
Berlin?
I don't know yet. Actually, I would like to go to another city because I love being in other places, and just for me it's beautiful. I love traveling, and I love just getting to know like a different rhythm of life, and just see how, yeah, I don't know, for me it's just super exciting. So I would also love to go to another country, or just I'm open for everything. So
Sounds good. Sounds good. And
yeah.
anything on the modeling front, or is that on the back burner?
Well, I'm not doing it at the moment because I have so much to do, and I know I was experimenting so much with like food, so I had like bad skin at some point, and then I had like, I don't know, I gained some weight at some point, and now it's kind of leveling everything again, so my skin is becoming clearer and clearer every day, and like I lean out again, so maybe when I'm like in shape again, I'm not far away from it, like maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, and I go to the agency again. But right now it's like I've been experimenting with like raw foods and like raw tofu and trying to eat a lot of calories and then like moderate calories. So because everyone is saying something else, and it's kind of hard to figure out what to do. So, and then I had like my allergies and everything, or still have.
Oh,
So
bummer. Bummer.
yeah, I'm kind of like a small experiment at the moment.
That's good. I like that you're doing it all on yourself. That's the best way to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always confusing because everyone is different and experiences things differently. You know, there are people on YouTube saying, "Yeah, we're just eating fruits all the time and we're feeling great," and then there are others saying, "Yeah, we eat, I don't know, cooked foods and salt and everything," and the others say salt is so bad. So it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to try for yourself because it's doesn't make any sense to listen to anyone. So
Yeah.
you can just see how other people are feeling, and maybe it resonates with the things that you are experiencing or not. So
I think that's one reason I really like McDougall. He's kind of practical in that respect. It's
yeah,
like he wants a diet that people can stick with, you know. And
yeah,
it's probably gonna have some salt. It's gonna have some a significant amount of cooked food, and that's a big enough of a change for people to go from animal products to vegan. That's a huge change. So
yeah. and it's really convenient. It's almost the same for me as eating like from your the meals are almost the same as with animal products. It's just a little tiny bit different. So
Yeah,
it's so easy.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
feel like anyone would miss something. The only reason I guess people who say it is because it's still in their mind that they have to eat it and that they just would be missing something without it. So
yeah,
it's not the food, it's their minds.
yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, and it's amazing how much the psychology can get in the way of somebody's physical health. You know, that your mind can create so many problems.
Yes, definitely, and you see it all over everywhere. And sometimes I would just like love to go to people and tell them like maybe you should try something different. But yeah, better not
Yeah, it's
to.
like you have to let them learn for themselves if they're really hard headed. Yeah.
Yeah. There was this guy at my yoga class, like this man, he was, I don't know, maybe like 50 years old or so, and he came for, it was his first yoga class, and he said, well, in the beginning, you always tell the yoga teacher if you have like any ailments, anything that, any pains or whatever, and he was like, yeah, he has pains like in his knees and his like left foot, like his left ankle and his like elbows, and he cannot really bend it that much, and he had like this belly in front of him, and I thought, okay, maybe there's something that diet could do. And he said like, oh yeah, and he's been trying for 3 years to go, like he's been like taking like cortisol or something for 3 years and painkillers, and it's not really getting any better. And the doctors, they don't know what it is because they tested him for arthritis, and it's not that. And I thought maybe it's not a disease or illness that is just there because of some reason, because like I don't know, you're like the unlucky guy who gets it, but yeah.
It could be. I mean, does it look like he eats? I mean, he must eat a very unhealthy diet, right?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. And I thought, 3 years ago, that's what I had. Kind of, I had the same thing, that my knees were hurting, my left ankle actually, and my elbows. It was exactly what I had, and I couldn't bend my knees completely, like only 90 degrees. And now it's almost completely gone. Like I can almost bend my knees completely again. It's just maybe like tiny bit that it's still not there. So,
Yeah.
and I don't have any pains at all. So I don't. For me, it's so I told him like I had something similar, but for him he was like, no, it's a disease and I cannot do anything.
You know, that's a
So
shame.
yeah,
He wouldn't even listen to what you're saying. Yeah, it's amazing.
no,
It's amazing. It's kind of like this wall of resistance.
yeah,
But I'm hopeful. You know,
yeah,
I think folks like us are growing. I think we're growing, and it's going to reach a what do you call it? A point of no return, or it's gonna the
yeah,
scale's gonna tip, and then it's just going to be a huge shift.
yeah. Also, what I find really interesting, I've so just seen a documentary, or not documentary, it was like a discussion or something with two men, like a biochemist, and I don't know what the other one was, but they were talking about allergies because I'm still interested on where they're coming from and how I can get rid of them. So,
Yeah,
and they were talking about that certain allergies are very common in certain regions. So that, for example, in Germany and I don't know what it was, Belgium or whatever, a lot of people are allergic, for example, to bananas and some other things, and they say, for example, that with bananas, it's usually the way that they're stored that creates that people get allergic to it because they use something. And I find that I never thought of that it's not maybe the actual food, but it's the way that they store it or treat it.
that's
Or
very
I
interesting.
always thought, it's because they have like manipulated the food in a way that it has, for example, too much gluten, and that this affects you, which is also maybe a factor. But I never thought of that. It could be just storage or something that creates the problem. It's so
That's a
strange.
that's a great point, Alexis. And you might, the next time you find yourself in a tropical country, you might try some local organic bananas and see if they agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I did this when I was in Bali last year. I had like some of the small bananas and I had no problem with them.
Uh-huh. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting. Well, I always thought it was so bizarre. Have you heard, how they gas these bananas to make them ripen? They when
Yeah.
they're in these ships, they intentionally gas them, and that seems kind of strange. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because, and also I've been talking to someone from South America, and he said that for them it's so important that they don't pick, for example, unripe bananas to eat them because they're just really bad, even though they ripen afterwards. They're just so bad for the digestion. They always pick them super ripe,
You
and
know,
I never thought about actually affecting them, even though they're already like they ripened afterwards.
that is interesting because I always wondered about this. There's a argument in kind of the raw food community and perhaps the vegan community where we're naturally drawn to bright colors in terms of food. So if you were out in nature and you were living off food in its natural state, it's those bright colors, the bright reds, bright yellows, bright oranges that would attract you, and you want to eat those kind of foods. But I always wondered about that with the banana because if you eat it when it's really bright yellow, it's pretty much a starch. It's not really
Yeah,
ripe. So
that's the
that
problem because we pick it wrong. He said that that when they're ripe, they're yellow. They don't have like all the brown spots everywhere.
huh, interesting.
Yeah.
And did he say they fall off the tree by themselves?
No, he didn't mention that. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting because a lot of times fruit, when it's just perfectly ripe, it's just about to fall off the branch.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. And I think that it is like fruit because it's so tasty and it has a lot of nutrients and everything, that it might be like the right food for humans just because of an ideological way of thinking that you have like some food that people are meant to eat and whatever. But the way that you can like the food that you can get is just so bad. The fruit. I mean, even if you get like the flown mangoes or anything that are super expensive, it's not great. When
Yeah.
I was in Portugal, they had mangoes there. They were super cheap and they were so good, so much better than the expensive ones that you can buy that are meant to be the best quality. So for me, even if I wanted to be like high fruit, I just wouldn't do it because the fruit is not great. And maybe it's because also I got more picky, but if you eat so much fruit, you just notice the difference so much. If you have like something that is maybe not ripe enough, you notice it in your teeth, in your stomach, and everything in your skin. So
I think that's a
it's
huge point,
not
Alexis.
possible.
Yeah, there's such a big difference between ripe, organic, excellent quality fruit than compared to other, poor quality. It is a huge difference. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot of times you throw away stuff if the fruit doesn't take. You end up throwing it away, which is horrifying because it's pretty
yeah,
expensive.
yeah, yeah. And I actually had to throw away a couple of things because they just would taste great,
Yeah,
or good at all. Um, and also, I think that if you want to live this way, you really have to live in the area where the fruit grows, because everywhere else it just the quality is not good enough. And for me, I figured out that actually I'm I feel best if I eat local foods. I don't know, maybe it's because the food grows the things that you need, that your body wants, and the nutrition that you need for the environment and for the climate or anything. But that's what I find, that the quality is the best then, and I just feel my best, and that's why I kind of eat more cooked foods right now. So that, because the things that are grown here in this area, you mostly cannot eat it raw. It's too hard to digest. So if you have like, I don't know, Swiss chard or anything, it's, for me it's impossible to digest raw. So, and it tastes a lot better cooked.
That's interesting. I mean, I think the local argument has a lot of points, worthwhile points behind it. I've always kind of felt that, while it's important, you can use the local argument to justify eating meat and dairy products, and I don't think it's that strong an argument. But but I do think it's important. I think the more local you can eat, the better.
Yeah. I just feel more balanced if I eat local foods. Maybe, I also looked into macrobiotics, and that's what they, like, their philosophy is about, that you eat more local foods because of, yeah, it gives you what you need, and also from, climate and body temperature. If you look into Chinese medicine, then, or this Chinese, I don't know, I think Plant Solution or something. I don't know how it's called, the channel. They have a very, very good video on like a traditional Chinese medicine, and where they talk about yin and yang,
Yeah.
and how some foods are cooling and some are warming. And I really find that that makes so much sense, not because of the idea behind it, but just because of what I experienced and how I felt, that if I eat too much watermelon or something now, it's just, for me, it's bad. I just, like, I get, like, in the mornings, everything is, like, my whole nose, I don't know how to say, um,
Your sinuses,
oh, I forgot the
sinuses.
word. Sinuses, right.
Yeah.
That they are, like, blocked, and, like, I have a runny nose, and my throat hurts and everything, which I find very interesting, because I didn't have this when it was super hot or outside. It's just now it's getting like this, or that I just feel unbalanced and like cold, or um, yeah, and it it is for me, it's kind of true. So
Yeah, that's interesting. That could explain why some people living in tropical environments do really well on fruit, and a lot of people who are not in those tropical environments don't. I mean, that's a possibility. Um,
yeah, the only good fruit you can get in winter are like imported dates, and then you have some apples, and if you can eat bananas, you have bananas as well imported, but there are not so many good fruits around, and just the thought of having to eat all the time the same foods just so you get enough energy is, for me, it's horrible.
yeah,
I had this last winter, and yeah, I had this for 2 winters. Like the first winter when I went raw, and then the second winter when I had like my when I was like trying going into more cooked a little bit in between, but I felt like I had to eat all the time these foods, and it was not what I really wanted. So it was kind of, I had to bear through it more or less,
yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
it's not fun.
you're. I hear what you're saying. You are reminding me though of. Do you remember? I'm sure you've heard of this study where I think it was done in the 30s, and they fed these two participants in this study potatoes, and they ate
Mhm.
only potatoes for like 30 days or 90 days or something
Yeah.
crazy. And at the end of that period, they still liked potatoes. So uh, I think there's some truth to what you say. Like psychologically, we need some variety, but I also think there's like this basic prin- principle that if our nutritional needs are met, uh, the variety is not so important. But it may be. I mean, maybe just for you, you'd rather have a boiled potato than a raw piece of fruit. Maybe you like potato better.
Yeah, well, I'm allergic to potatoes, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I mean, I see your what you wanted to express. So, um, yeah, for me, it's not really a variety. I've been eating actually just the same almost every day for the last 2 or 3 months, just because that's what I crave and that's what I like at the moment. So it's
Yeah.
not that much of variety, the point, but it's the point that the quality of the fruit is not great and the fruit doesn't give you, for me, it didn't give me what my body needed. So, like having just apples all the time, at some point you're just sick of them, and you want something that actually, where that is really ripe and nice, and or just something else that is just better, and not like sour apples, and then so like your stomach starts to hurt, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a nutritional deficiency. Like, apples. I like apples, but they just don't have the caloric or the nutritional power that a lot of other foods do. I forget. You can eat grains, can't you?
Gluten-free grains, yes.
Okay.
And also, like amaranth and buckwheat, I cannot eat them. So
Okay.
it's a little bit limited, but yeah, I can eat like rice. I have a lot of brown rice, and I can eat millet and like quinoa. So like the fake grains.
Okay. Can you eat quinoa?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever tried this grain? I don't know. It may have gluten. I don't know. It's called kamut. Kamut,
Yeah,
Kamut.
yeah, it has gluten. It's like an old variety of wheat.
Okay. Huh.
Um, yeah, it's I think the difference is just that it doesn't have that much gluten, but still it has gluten, and I think once you're sensitive to it, you also react to other things. So like, I
Can
tried
you?
this bread. It's called Essener bread. It's like this Jewish bread, which I found very interesting because it's just made of spelt,
Yep.
sprouted spelt,
Yep.
and that's supposed to have less gluten, but or almost none of it. You can also get it like in raw food quality.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I found like my forehead and here it got really red and like burned. So
Huh. Can you eat legumes like beans?
no, sadly not because I have like a histamine intolerance, and it's so bad because I crave grains, not grains, legumes at the moment so badly,
Yeah.
especially chickpeas.
Yeah. Yeah. That love chickpeas. Yeah. How about you
Yeah.
probably if you do the macrobiotic thing, you might like the umbashi plums. Have you ever tried those? I think they're pickled plums or something like that.
Yeah, the thing is, I would love to do macrobiotic, but I cannot because of my histamine intolerance. You know, they use like a lot of pickled foods, and I cannot eat anything that is pickled or vinegar or
Wow.
anything that is fermented or legumes or um, so many things. So
Can you
yeah,
eat
it's difficult.
can you eat carrots or radishes?
Well, radishes not because I'm allergic to radishes, but carrots, yes.
Okay. All right. And
So
onion?
what I'm eating at the moment, it kind of limits to like zucchini, Swiss chard, carrots, red bell pepper, or and again general just peppers and like fennel and rice.
Huh. Okay. Well, at least you got some foods that you can eat. That's good.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't you
Also,
can't can
yeah.
you eat a can you eat cooked onion or no?
Um, I can, but it for me, it's with my digestion is not so great. So
Yeah.
like I get like bloated and stomach aches, so it's not so nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have this if I eat like chives or, and I do have the same flavor with chives, so it's
Okay.
alright.
Yeah. Well, it's good you finally you it sounds like it took you a while, but you worked out what you can eat. That's good.
Yeah, Yeah, and now I'm trying to work out how to get rid of my intolerance if it's possible, because everyone says it's not, but I'm kind of positive and hopeful that it will go away at some
All
point.
right. All right. Yeah.
Do you have like any vegan topic that you want to discuss at them? Because um, I don't know, there are a lot of people talking about like ethical things at the moment, and just because I cannot really think of anything right now on
No, that's
hand doesn't mean that you can.
yeah, yeah. I just find I think this is the strong point that several people have made to me when I've been interviewing them. And while it's true that a lot of people are drawn to veganism for health reasons, and it's been
Hmm.
my belief, up till about now that the best way to communicate these principles to the public is to focus on the health because people are personally interested in health and they can personally benefit from it. But several people lately have made the point to me that people will become interested in health and they'll do things to improve their health and then they'll go back. Like the suggestion
Yeah,
is that if they're vegan for health reasons, it might not be as long-standing a commitment. But if they become vegan for ethical reasons, it's very hard to turn that around because once you become conscious of the ethical issues, once you know what kind of uh, inhumane practices are being made upon animals, it's hard to then turn around and go back to eating meat. So I think that's a
yeah,
fairly strong point. You know.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's where I would say that I'm like that point is where I would say that I'm vegan because I would never eat any animal products again, except for maybe honey, but I cannot eat honey because I have a histamine intolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
no, but no,
interesting.
I would never eat any animal products again. For me, just the thought of having something like this inside of me, it's nice. It's like,
I know. I know. It's you totally shift your awareness. Um,
yeah,
and I think too you reach a place where the taste is no longer appealing.
yeah. I mean, I never liked meats very much or dairy product at all. So for me, it's okay.
I was thinking though, you do hear that genetically there are some races that are more. Let's say they've developed a digestive genetics that allows for eating of dairy products, and my guess would
Yeah,
be those types of people would be prevalent in European countries. So
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
Sounds
don't
like that.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard of that as well. Um, but I think since now they're putting like dairy extracts, like from just like lactose or like casein, the dairy protein into all sorts of foods and all sorts of processed foods, that people just get too much of it and still get intolerant to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why maybe it's so common at the moment. They have like this over refined product of milk that this has been processed so many times that it's not healthy anymore,
Yeah.
or not what means anymore, but compared to like the diet that they had like 100 years ago, where they had just like fresh milk from the cow directly, um, you can still say that they got more nutrition out of it than from what you have at the moment in the stores. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think that's also what I heard from a couple of sources, that we are adapted to it. Also, I had
Isn't
another very interesting conversation about milk because I was like talking to when I was in Italy to someone because we were thinking of why people in some areas are so much taller and have like such a different build than for example than in others. So that for example the Asian people, a lot of Asian people are kind of small, or also in South America or just in like in I don't know, warmer countries, and maybe they have like it's because of the diet. They have a different diet.
Yes, this is a very interesting
What do
point. Yeah, there's a term called giantism, and
Yeah,
you can see this in Western countries, and there's some speculation that dairy products are really designed to help a young baby calf grow tremendously in its early stages,
yeah,
and there could be an argument made that it's these kind of nutritional or dietary tendencies in culture have had an effect on the size of people. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but um, perhaps perhaps part of it is simply having access to better nutrition. Like I agree with what you're saying. If you go back 100 years, a lot of people in some ways had better nutrition because they're eating things directly from the fields. If they are eating dairy products, they're coming straight from the cow or the sheep. Better yet, the sheep or the goat, which is probably even healthier. Um, so I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, and now we do have these grocery stores where you can
yeah,
pick up anything you want, and so probably in some ways we have worse eating habits, even though we have more resources. Strange.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's yeah. I just found it very interesting because um, also when you think of like the standards for beauty and what you see at the moment, like what is favored or I don't know, and then you compare it related to diet, and if we would change everything, and these were just some things that I was thinking about, like that everything would change. Also regarding this,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great point. It's all kind of psychological. And these standards are so arbitrary. It's like why does a model? I mean, the what's the height requirement for a successful model? Why is that?
yeah, yeah, it's like I would say I'm pretty tall, so
Yeah.
and I don't know, I don't know how in feet or whatever, but yeah, it's tall and
I
yeah,
hope.
that's why I was just change completely. Everything would change. So
Yeah. I think what's going to happen is as we do grow in consciousness, I think I think we're going to shift away from focusing on these kinds of issues. I don't think they'll be as important. And one thing I think that's good that's happening is there's this mixing up of cultures. It's happened perhaps most in the United States, but now it's happening everywhere. This mixture of cultures and mixture of religions, and it's all just getting stirred up, and it's not going to be like you can isolate these things anymore.
yeah, um, yeah. But do you really think that it's getting less, or that people would shift their consciousness to like being less focused on appearance and everything because it's so, and in my opinion, it's so like rooted into biology that you try to look for like a partner or something who's someone who's like attractive for you, and health is always attractive, and it's like you kind of have this first appearance look or whatever that just expresses so many things to you, just so many messages. I think it's always going to be a big part of life and society.
Well, that's a strong point. That's a powerful point you're making. I can't argue with what you're saying. It does seem to be a strong biological drive. Um,
Yeah,
I would say that it appears there's some evidence that we have evolved beyond animals, and we're able to some degree to redirect what might have been more primitive drives by using our intelligence, and perhaps over time that has an effect on the biological drive itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It probably will just change into another direction.
But I mean, people are still buying magazines with models on the cover, and there's the fashion industry is a huge industry, and uh, so
Yeah.
romance is a big part of life. So I mean, you have a very strong point. You have a very strong point.
Yeah. And also, I think maybe it could become even stronger because like people in general have more liberty to think about these things and have like I think it's becoming more important to have a sense of beauty or of something that interests you in a different way than just having to survive, that you have like this more sensitive thing aspect in life that draws people to have like a consciousness for creating something beautiful, even if it's just dressing in a certain way, that you focus on it or that you pay attention to it. And I think that actually it becomes more strong, like more and more important for us in our society, that you have these aspects and that you have something that expresses your creativity and just expresses your just something that interests you in a different way than just having to work for your living and for bread and water or something. That it becomes more important.
Well, you're touching on a huge issue. I think there's some truth to what you say. I mean, I definitely appreciate aesthetics, and there's something very beautiful about, say, a beautiful car compared to a really ugly car, or a fashion and art in the public sector. It seems there's an important place for. Hey, Brian.
What's up?
Um, how you doing, man?
Nothing, man.
Um,
I can't. How you doing, Alexis?
all right,
Hi, I'm
you guys
great.
know it.
I'm at work, so I just thought I got the invite, so I thought I'd hop in real quick. I got a couple minutes.
I'm glad you did, Brian. I'm glad you did. We're just
That's
waxing metaphysical here on fashion and beauty.
Oh,
And,
sir. As you can see, I still got the ugly camera picture, but
dude,
I
we
gotta
can see you. We can see you, man.
take it out or something. I don't know. But, how's you guys' day?
We're having a good time. We're having a good time.
Good, good. Glad to see there's three of us on here. That's a good thing. That's
That's
kind of
right.
like vegan thing working.
That's right. What do you think, Brian? Do you think fashion and beauty are always going to be really important?
Oh, ah,
Well, I can still hear you.
picture. Hold on a second.
That's all right.
Okay, I'm back. Now, say it one more time. I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah, just what we were talking about was the relevance of beauty in the current culture, and do you think that in society we develop these ideas of what beauty is, and and that kind of drives a lot of activity in society.
Right.
Do you think that will always be there, like models on the covers of magazines and helping guys decide who they're going to go out with, or do you think we might sometime evolve beyond that, where we don't think it's so important?
I mean, I don't know. In a way, I kind of feel. like society is starting to go. I mean, people still. I feel like you still got to be attracted to somebody, but I think it's kind of seems like it's a trend to like be yourself. You know, people are looking at like, okay, what's more important, how you are as a on the inside and what you look at. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think you're always gonna have those magazines or people thinking you know, but you just like you see a trend of people getting away from like, well, I gotta look like this kind of model or you know, I gotta have this kind of muscle for society to accept me. I think you're starting to see a trend toward people just saying like looking at how the person is on the inside. You know what I mean? Dress like you want to dress. Uh, you know, so speak like you want to speak. Don't be, you know, don't be a follower. Be your own leader. You know, I mean
yeah.
that's I think it's kind of going. So,
I like
I,
that. I like that. Yeah. You
but
know, yeah, it's funny because personally we're attracted to people for whatever reason, and that's somewhat influenced by cultural trends.
yeah, it
Uh,
is.
but I hope you're right. I hope that people just feel more and more free to be themselves, and there's a beauty I think to that.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, if
Yeah, the thing is,
you're gonna be attracted to somebody, but what's gonna keep you with that person is gonna be the inside. So not necessarily because you can see somebody that's like looks good and then it's like they got a horrible inside. So you know, I, it's
I just
kind of
feel
crazy.
like
So go ahead,
that
Alexis. I'm sorry.
from I'm sorry, what I get from like the whole YouTube community or the whole vegan community that um, they focus a lot on like appearance. They focus so much on fitness and just being muscular and just having like a fit toned body, but always the aesthetics is the reason why people do this. I mean, they of course like better and everything, but I feel like most of them just do it for this reason, or that's their priority why they do it. Um, and I don't see that people have like any other background, at least not that's why they start. And for me, I don't feel like there's a trend that goes more into yeah, we're doing this lifestyle for ethical reasons or for I don't know, any other reason besides appearance.
hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can see that point of view, like you saying too, because you do start to see a lot of people like, okay, you can have this look, you're gonna look this way, but what if you're like you said, it needs to be more about like for me, what I got into being a vegan was like health reasons, you know, because I'm confident in how I look
Yeah,
regardless, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying to be. I think I know what Alexis is saying. Like it's a lot of that out there. Like you can attain this kind of a figure, or you can attain this by being vegan. It's about bettering ourselves and caring for the animals more than anything than being like having a certain look.
yeah. I like that. I like what you're saying, Brian, and I think too. Maybe there's truth to what Alexis is saying because in this there's a particular community that's developed around the vegan thing on YouTube, but that
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean that all the people in that community are all the people that are doing the vegan thing because the vegan thing's been going on for a long time, and I think there's a lot of people who have been strongly ethically motivated,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and that health was only secondary interest. So
Right.
I think there is, I think like in Hollywood and probably in some of the modeling towns, Alexis, there's a big emphasis on diet as a means to beauty, and I think there's value for us to promote that because a lot of people are attracted by that. But I do think there's other large communities that are interested in veganism for other reasons.
Right. Yeah. Because what is like? I'm trying to think of this one guy. He's a real heavy set guy. He's a power lifter, but he's a vegan. But oh, I got a bee flying around me. Sorry about that.
Uh,
But,
yeah.
I'm kind of outside. But he's real. I think I can't think of his name, but real heavy set guy, but he's a vegan, you know, and he's promoting the ethicalness of animals and all that. He's not trying to have a certain look, and I think that's huge for us as a vegan community. Is
Yeah.
that a person like this that's like, hey, I'm not slim, I'm not, you know, trying to look a certain way. I'm vegan, but this is who I am. You know what I mean? And I think
Beautiful.
I see more of that, like Alexis was saying, not have like, you'll be vegan, you'll look like me. What if I don't? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You
Yeah,
know, what do you think, Alexis? I mean, I think that there's an interesting thing that you're bringing up because I think aesthetics and creativity and beauty are just huge aspects of life, and they're important. But I also think, how do we determine what is beautiful? And uh, is someone beautiful if they don't wax their legs, if they don't trim their eyebrows, if they let their hair be its natural color, if they don't use makeup? Is that person still beautiful? What about that?
Yeah, it probably will change just the image of the person, but I still think that that there will always be a certain image of beauty that people will try to change themselves and try to strive for it, and that if you have like a certain look that it maybe promotes just a certain status or a certain like level of health or a certain, I don't know, something that people find more attractive because it's like rare genetics or something that people want to have, that like a biological urge to yeah, mix with this gene, so that's why they find it more attractive, or I don't know, something that just gets people wanting to change themselves, because so many people, I find that they are insecure, or they think that this could help them, or there are just so many different layers of why people change or want to change. And so I feel that there will always be like people coloring, dyeing their hair, or just trying to do, yeah, trying to express themselves maybe just, and that's why they want to change their appearance and like eyebrows or whatever.
Yeah,
So I think it will always be there. I mean, there has always been, like in ancient times, I don't know, like ancient Greek women, they tried to dye their hair blonde. So it's
yeah,
something that is just part of culture. I mean,
yeah,
even maybe it's like a different image that is created that people want to strive for, as it has developed over time as well. But I think it will always be there. So.
yeah,
It's part of culture. It's like why people drew things like in caves on the wall, because it's just, or like they made jewelry out of, I don't know, stones or things that they found. It's just
yeah.
something that I think differentiates us a little bit from other creatures, that we have like a certain um, yeah, a different way of creating our lives.
Creative inclination, creativity, and kind of wanting to create clothing, jewelry, that sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I bet Brian. Would you say, Brian, that you know your perspective has changed? I know mine has as I've gotten older. Uh, what the things that I find important in life, I've shifted a little bit. You think that's true for you at all?
Yeah, I say it's true for me. I mean, things that might have been important, like when I was younger, you know, I'm 54 now, so I
Yeah.
mean, things when I was in my 30s that I might have thought was important or not as important now, like, you know, just trying to put out a image for my grandkids, you know, to have, trying to, you know, my thoughts now are just trying to like leave a legacy that they can look at and go, hey, you know, they call me G-Paw. I don't let them call me Grandpa, but you know, G-Paw left a legacy of being, you know, a guy that was, you know, upright, worked hard, stood for what he believed in, you know, loved people, you know. So I think your perspectives change, and that's what I kind of think about as far as beauty, because to me, I could meet somebody, just like I said, at the first look, I could say, okay, they're not that beautiful, but then when I get to know them, I go, man, they got a beautiful heart on the inside. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just, I just kind of, that's why I kind of started doing my YouTube videos, because I just wanted to be like, put something out there that we need to like have some kind of positivity to keep you striving every day, taking it one day at a time, you know. So
yeah. I love that. I love that, Brian. And I feel both y'all. You know, I feel what you're saying too, Alexis. It's like
yeah,
it's like
I feel what she said too. I do. I understand what she said because, sorry, Paul, to cut you off, but I feel what Alexis said because it's like society, especially like, you know, when we got Hollywood and we got the magazines trying to sell, so they're always going to put that like this is what beauty is. But I think us as a culture, because I think you grow the more cultures you can absorb. You know what I mean?
uh,
Like, if I was like being a black guy, if I just hung around black people, how am I growing as a person? So I think that's what it takes as a cultures mixing together. Like Alexis said, I think if you keep looking at that's what beauty is, it can skew your view on life. You know, it
you know,
really can.
I love what you're saying, Brian, especially like in terms of Ferguson. You know, Ferguson. It's like it's exact what you're saying is the antidote to that. It's like we gotta get together and start mixing it up, and
Yeah,
that's the answer.
yeah,
And I imagine I think in Germany too you have similar issues, Alexis, with Europeans have a lot of folks coming in from other countries doing a lot of the manual labor and that sort of thing, and then you develop these kind of tensions between folks who are born in Germany and foreign workers who are coming in and doing jobs. This kind of stuff, it exists in all our countries,
yeah,
and I think what you're saying is so powerful, Brian. It's like it's seeing our humanity underneath what we might see on the surface, and at the same time, it's like Alexis is saying that beauty and art and creativity are these strong themes that run through society and culture, and they have an effect on so much that we do. And there's this primal attraction between men and women, this
yeah,
primal driving force that runs the whole thing. You could say it's
yeah,
complicated.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you like you said, it's like it drives us, but you know, just like this, what we're doing right here. I mean, I feel like just getting in here for a little time I got is helping me grow as a person. Just talking to y'all two right now, so I think that's what keeps us growing, no matter what our age or what our background, what country we live in. If we can't like try to get minds together and kind of mesh where our viewpoints are, or like with us being vegan, just sharing our different parts of our journey is in that it helps us grow and it can help the world be a better place. You know. So.
Amen, amen, man. I like that. I like that.
Well, I can't stay, y'all. I'm sorry. I got to get back here to the grind. I'm at the post office, so
Hey, Brian, thanks for jumping on, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I like your videos. I like when Paul interview. It's nice meeting you. I know, like I said, I like people, so Paul knows. I can talk all night long. So
Brian, I love you, man. I love you.
yeah, I love you guys too. It's been a blessing. Hey, I'll get with next time. I'll hop in again. So always shoot me something, Paul.
Sounds good, Brian. Sounds good, brother.
All right, talk to you guys soon.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right,
Bye.
bye bye.
So I tell me about that, Alexis, because you can tell me. Am I right in thinking that I know like for example I know in Turkey I know in Germany a lot of Turks come and work in Germany, right? And
Yeah,
you
especially in Berlin.
especially Berlin. Okay, so and is it an issue at all? Is it does it get to be? Is there any tensions between them, or do the two cultures get along pretty well?
You know, it's different depending on the culture. With the Turkish people, I think it's more complicated. With like Italian people, when they came, they blended in so perfectly well. It's of course you notice a little difference, but they just blend in well because they have like a similar culture. Also, Japanese people, they blended in very well because they're also a little bit similar from their like work spirit or something to German people, and a lot of I think a lot of people blend in very well, but I find, for example, that Turkish people, they don't really. A lot of people have problems with them. I mean, here in Berlin, maybe not so much because Berlin is also called like Little Turkey or something because you're just so many, and people kind of are used to them or sort of like it because here's just a little bit of a different spirit in Berlin than in other cities.
Yeah.
But they just have like such a different culture. I mean, it's so different. Like their religion is so different, and that's just the way that they act is different, and um, everything is just so different. So it's kind of hard, I think, for them to blend in, and they don't really blend in well. So it's more of I mean, it's like an opinion, I guess, because some people, they think that it's good if people blend in, and some people think it's good to have different
Right.
cultures, so that you have this versatility, and then you have, I don't know, it's more interesting or whatever. But for me, I find it important. Yeah, I do find it important that they blend in because it just makes it easier to live, I find, because I don't know. It's not like I don't like Turkish people, but I find the culture very difficult. I just do.
It's
So,
interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but I did a brief video on a fundamental difference in the origin of, or let's say the foundations of Islam and the foundations of Christianity and many other religions. It's interesting. I'm kind of into Jung and psychology, and he goes into this a bit. And there's this very fundamental difference whereby Christianity and many other religions, they have this kind of solar, what you might say, uh, patriarchal is not exactly the right word, but this solar dynamic, and Islam has this lunar or feminine dynamic. Even though I know Islam has some patriarchal expressions within it in terms of the masculine feminine dynamic, but this fundamental difference between Islam and Christianity, I think, causes a lot of kind of abrasiveness or resistance between the two cultures. Um, but I think the Turkish culture is fascinating, and I think Islamic culture is fascinating, and I think we can learn a lot from it. So I generally agree with you. Like in the United States, we have so many different cultures that come here, and if if uh, if within that culture the people don't learn English after some time, uh, some Americans complain, well, they need to learn English. English is our native language, and there are some movements within the United States to teach Spanish in some schools because we have so many Hispanics in the United
yeah.
States. Uh, but it's a bit of a conflict. I kind of favor the teaching. Teach Spanish if they need it. If enough generations live in the United States, eventually they speak English. And it's interesting that I think one of the strengths of the United States is there's this broad mixture of all these cultures. And you've been to the States, right? How would you compare the States to Europe in terms of integrating different nationalities?
Oh, actually, that's really difficult for me to say because, when I lived there, I was very young, and then when I went there again a couple of years ago, I went to New York, and I guess New York it's like Berlin. You cannot compare it to the rest of the country. So,
Yeah.
um, and it was, yeah, there were a lot of foreign people. So I think, as for me, it's difficult to say. I mean, I will be in the US again in December, but as I will be in Miami, where they have a lot of Spanish-speaking people, so
Yeah.
maybe I can. No, and I will also be in New York again, where I cannot really tell. So,
Right. That's cool. That's
yeah,
cool. And did you say you were thinking of coming in October or no?
in December.
December. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, beginning of December, the first 2 weeks.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I know. Yeah, that should be fun. Yeah. You should do some. You should.
Very excited.
Yeah. Do some videos while you're here, and you can do some observations. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I'm always a bit still like, do I want to put do I want to upload videos or not?
Oh, still. You should, Alexis. You
Yeah,
should. You should. You'd be good. You'd be good. But
yeah. I think maybe other people find it annoying if I walk around with a camera or something. So I have to see.
all right.
And
Well,
also, what I find, a lot of channels they just talk about the same things all the time. So if it's, for example, on diet, everyone has the same videos uploaded. It's really just everyone has the same videos. If you want to look for someone who's, I don't know, who's talking about weight loss or who's talking about, I don't know, like there's take on whether like raw or raw to four, and then they have like all the same videos on the drama with the fruit festival. They have all the time the same videos talking about the same things because someone else talked about it, like this ice bucket challenge, or I don't know. All the
yeah,
videos are always the same, so
yeah,
I find it difficult to talk about, especially if we talk about diet, to talk about something new, because it's just very simple. You just eat these certain foods and then you will feel good at some point. Maybe adjust it a little bit to what you need, maybe a little bit more fat or a little bit less or more salt or less or whatever. So yeah, then they just do videos all the same all the time on some drama that is going on. So I find it, yeah,
yeah,
not
yeah.
very easy.
I think it's true, and I was recently talking to Barry, Barry's Vegan Life, and
Yeah,
he kind of said, you know, in these YouTube circles, you can kind of get the feeling you're just preaching to the choir. So
yeah,
I think you're onto something there. But I guess my feeling is it's good that a lot of these folks are getting out, and even if some of the videos are repetitive, I feel like uh, different different presenters will attract different listeners. And even though
yeah,
the topics may be similar, I think it'll gradually expand out. So I agree with you. It's a little oversimplified. And you know who I really like who's trying to address this. Gitta, I think she's in Denmark. Um,
yeah,
yeah, she really wants to open it up into other topics, and that's why Alexis, that's why you should do some videos, because then you could totally do that. You know, you could do totally different topics. That's that's why I loved asking you about the art history and what you're studying. You know, I want people to see vegans in these other fields, in the fashion industry. You know, it's
yeah.
it's it's so much bigger than just how many carbs am I eating? But anyway,
People talking about the same things all the time and having the same questions, and then everyone has like their ideal way of how diet is supposed to work and have like these concepts, and if someone does something differently then they just react so emotional and so negative. And I find especially this is the topic where what I find very strange, because I always think that veganism is supposed to be about like compassion and just uh I just sometimes don't get it that they react in this type of way, especially when
yeah,
people especially when you like go to people who follow freely, because they are just so dogmatic as well, even though they hate on the dogmatic people from the raw community, like the 100% raw community. They're just the same
You
in
know,
their own.
yeah, Alexis, this is a huge point, and it's very interesting. I don't know if you knew. I think you did. 30 bananas a day. Uh,
Yeah,
Before they started focusing on raw till 4, they were totally focused on a raw approach, and
yeah,
and they had some pretty strict rules in that community about, when you could, if at all, talk about cooked food. So
yeah,
that's been a
yeah.
pretty that's
Yeah,
been a
you're
pretty
not allowed
huge.
to talk about cooked food or like onions or garlic or salt or so many things where I just thought, okay, that's strange. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and now that they're raw till 4, and those things have become somewhat more acceptable, I wish that they would acknowledge that kind of transition in focus. I think it's true that, Durian Ryder used to always say that fruit is gold and starches are silver, but he didn't say it a lot, and now they seem to be giving more credence to more starches in the diet, and I think that's an evolution. And I agree with you. I'd like less dogmatism. I do think, somebody like, have you ever watched Gary Yourofsky? I mean, you could say that he's kind of militant in his veganism, but
yeah,
I
I
think,
watched him.
yeah, it's pretty strong. But I think there's a place for that too. So I guess I guess there's a place for vegans who wanna fight this in a very aggressive way, and there's a place for vegans who I've had a lot of vegans say to me, uh, be the change you want to see, be the
Yeah,
change you want to see, and I like that. So it's like as soon as you start following these principles, your health will improve. And then if you're kind of quiet about this, you'll probably have, coworkers or people you run into in the world who start asking you questions just out of, not because you're promoting it, but it just, they're going to see that you're ordering a bowl of rice instead of, a rack of lamb. So they might
yeah,
ask you, why are you doing that? So I think there's room for all these, but I agree with you. There can be, when it's really aggressive and negative, it can be hard to take. It can be offensive.
yeah, 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 and that's something where I think a lot of people have to learn this, that they don't judge other people always on other, because there are just so many YouTube channels where they talk all the time about like other YouTubers talk. I don't know. It's just it's so annoying.
I think you're onto something. Yeah, it's kind of a waste of time and energy in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like running around in circles, and it's not doing any good at all because it's not very helpful for a lot of people, and so many people, they don't find like any help or any other way of how to live this lifestyle that it's good for them. So that's why I like this other channels. I don't know, this plant-based solution or whatever it's called. I think it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're excellent. I think he's got a lot of science-based videos. That's good stuff.
Yeah. And there are some channels where they experiment with different types of eating in a vegan manner, but and they also talk about how um, yeah, how they developed away from this dogmatic, away from this certain like only one type of lifestyle mentality. And I think it's very nice to see people opening up, and that
Yeah.
it's yeah, I like, oh, what were the channels? Like for example, this Chris from Chris Gone Raw, who
Yeah.
changed his diet. Also, he talks about his experiences, and Um, Planet Steph, for example, she also is trying out a lot of things, and there are some YouTubers who do try to incorporate also like some more known ways of eating. For example, that they include this regional aspect or this like more traditional way of eating, that you have like oats or I don't know, rice or something like this, which I find very nice, because I always think that there has to be a reason why some foods were always eaten, and that's what Dr. McDougall talks about, and why there are some foods that are just so traditional to us. For example, that you have oats, or maybe also that you have bread or something, that there is something to it that makes it good for us at some point. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, Alexis, and that may also be related to your own personal experience, where when you tried to eat huge quantities of fruit, it didn't really work, and then when you eat like a bowl of rice, that works, and you're reminding me of the fact that while our digestive system is very similar to many primates, it does seem that there have been some evolutionary adjustments as we've incorporated cooked food into the diet.
Yeah.
So it could be that it's this smaller stomach is
Yeah.
better suited to a cooked grain, and you have to there's some kind of natural wisdom to the fact that these cultures, like in South America, corn and beans is it, and in Asia it's rice, and
Yeah.
in India they do rice and dal, the lentils.
Hmm.
Why did these staples arise? I mean, I'm sure it was through a lot of trial and error over thousands of years, and they picked these things for a reason. I think you're right.
Yeah. I think Don from Plant Based Solution made a nice video on this, where he compared the different like types of stomachs from humans and apes, and um, when I watched this video, I was like, oh my god, it opened my eyes a little bit, because everyone is always saying, like, even though they eat cooked foods, they always say raw is best. Everyone says this, and then I just thought, like, why does everyone say this? Is it because it's like an ideal, or like there are no studies on this? Maybe okay for some people it is, but maybe for others it's not, and so maybe it's not true that raw is always best and that fruit is always best, and maybe it's just, I don't know, because everyone, for me it was so strange, because everyone says like, oh, fruit is always best and always number one, but then they eat cooked foods, and I think, why, you know?
Yeah. That's a
And
great
so
point, Alexis. I do think
yeah,
there's a strong intellectual reason why it seems like raw food would have more nutrients, but I think you put your finger on this very obvious fact that it's very rare that people can do it with ease.
yeah. And when I ate like a high fruit diet and greens as well, I always had, for example, problems with like to get from chronometer to get my zinc levels high enough, and then I included brown rice and it was full. So there are just other nutrients inside. I don't think that there are less nutrients. It's just other ones, you know. And if you have like both, maybe the mixture makes it better, or just to include it, because if you eat so much fruit, I mean, at some point you got all your vitamins from fruit. From fruit. It's not like if you have like 10 times the amount that it makes it better. I don't know. Your body doesn't maybe need so much of it, and maybe it's better to have like a more balance that you get from other sources, other nutrients as well. So
I think it's a strong point that you're making. The only thing I would say is that there is evidence that some people do very well. I mean, they can like Grant Campbell. Grant Campbell,
yeah,
he's associated with Doug Graham, and Grant Campbell does a lot of long distance heavy physical exercise, and he can say categorically that he saw tremendous improvement when he transitioned from cooked food to completely raw. and he's
Yeah.
not the only one. So I hear what you're saying, but I think there's some evidence to point to the fact that it can be very, very good.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the person and whether he can digest everything well, and I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
it's also just I find that maybe the environment has a lot of has a lot of impact. You know, the climate and your lifestyle and what you can do at the moment, and it's not only you yourself, but everything around it as well.
right, right, right. That's good. I mean, that's a more balanced approach. That makes sense.
I mean, if I'm in a hot country, for example, I don't crave the same foods. I don't crave cooked, warm things. The only thing I want to eat is melon. You know, it just depends on where you are, and so
Yeah, I agree with that to a degree. I mean, you could say, if you are an Eskimo in north of Alaska, um, you would crave whale blubber. I mean, that's pretty much all you can eat up there. So,
I don't know if
I
you
mean,
crave whale blubber, but maybe you would also crave, I don't know, potatoes or some hearty vegan dish if you had the access to
okay, yeah, yeah.
it.
So I mean, I think you kind of suggest this earlier. I think it's probably some kind of, if we were looking for the optimum, and maybe it's hard to even know what that is, but it seems like it's probably a fairly high percentage raw and some percentage of cooked. Uh, that perhaps that, I don't, but maybe you're right. I mean, maybe it's related to the individual. I just become a little bit wary when we say it's all dependent on the individual, because this then you start to say, well, go ahead and just eat Hostess Twinkies all day long. It's maybe some individuals that's good for. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think we can narrow it down to some degree. You know what I mean?
I would narrow it down to a whole food plant-based diet, definitely.
Okay.
And then I would say it just depends on the individual because it depends on what your body needs, what your constitution is like, whether you have injuries, whether you have allergies, whether, I don't know, the climate is cold or hot, or whether you run around all day or sit, and I don't know, whether you use your brain or your legs, or I don't know, it
Yeah.
just depends on so many factors, on your hormones, on your age, on your height, your weight, your whatever. So that's why I wouldn't say that there is an optimum. I would that you can just apply to everyone. Maybe for some people all raw or all cooked or just some mixture or more of this type of food, more fats or less fats or no fats, or it I think it depends on how the person feels like, and everyone has to try for themselves. And maybe there's some diets that work for more people because I don't know, and that's where people could just start trying out. But I
Yeah.
don't think that there is one type of diet that suits everyone.
Okay.
Because there's people who just, for example, cannot eat salt. They just do like very horrible with salt because they have problems with some organ or whatever. And then there are people who just you can put like tons of it inside and they don't notice anything. So
Do you think? But would you say that you think a plant-based diet is uh, better than an animal product diet for all human beings?
from maybe it's like an intellectual like point of view, but from what I've learned and from what I feel like, I would say that it is more healthy, or at least that we don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think we don't need it, and maybe because from, yeah, I don't know if it was Campbell or someone said that you can be just as healthy eating like 10% of your foods from animal products, or up to 10%. Um, but since we don't need it, I don't think it is necessary to kill animals or to harm them. So I
Yeah.
think if like my life depended on it, if I was like, I don't know, in some countryside and there was nothing around, and like the only thing that I could eat was a steak that was made for me and was there because I was captured or something, I would probably eat it. I don't know if I would be able to kill an animal. Maybe I would be too stupid to do this or not. I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, if I mean, we don't have to, and I wouldn't want to do it. So, and
Yeah,
I wouldn't like to eat animal products. So,
I like what you're saying. So for you, you might be able to say optimum diet is plant-based. If somebody had to eat meat once a week, you would say okay, but you'd say it's not ideal. And then within the plant-based diet, you'd say there's probably a great deal of variability depending on individual circumstances.
yes. And I would always say that whole foods are best. So, least processed, as in the foods contain their nutrients, contain the fiber, contain, I don't know, all sorts of things.
The only
And
thing,
also best if it, yeah?
say again.
No, just I just wanted to say that maybe like the least chemicals and pesticides and whatever is best. So
Absolutely, absolutely. The only thing I would say, I like Colin Campbell's point, or whoever made it, that if you eat meat once a week, it's probably not going to be a huge difference health wise. The only thing is in a culture like the American culture, if you eat meat once a week, you're probably going to eat it a lot of times a week. So it's kind of like telling a cigarette smoker to have one
yeah,
cigarette a week. You know,
yeah,
so while I think scientifically that might be a supportable argument, psychologically it'll fail
yeah,
in terms of getting people off animal products.
yeah, definitely. And I think it has to be a shift in your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, same with people who try to not eat chocolate, and it's same. If they have it in their house, then they will probably eat it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has to be just, yeah, the people, they don't treat it as the main part of the meal, but they would either treat it as a condiment, or the best if they don't want to eat it because they think it's just not good to so many reasons. But yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, Alexis. I think we should wrap it up. I I should
Yeah.
probably. I could talk to you all night. Uh, but I'm sure you probably have to go to bed eventually, don't you? But
Yeah, it's 10:30 here, so I have to get up like at 6:45 or 6:30 or something. So
but it's always a pleasure, and I'm so glad you were able to jump on at the last notice. And let me have you just describe real quickly for the viewers the way you were able to get on this is you just went to did you go to your Google Plus page and you went to Hangouts and then you saw this Hangout was open and you jumped on?
yeah, there's this, like, I don't know how to say. Oh, there's like a little bell that always shows you like notices and has like a red mark on it with like a number if you get new notices
Yeah,
or
yeah.
new messages or something. Yeah, and I just went on this bell, and then it shows you whether you're invited, like if you're invited to something, or if there's like a conversation or something. And then I went on this invite, and then it opened.
Okay, and let me ask you because I did invite you directly to this, and I also invited my followers and people that I'm linked with. So did you
Hmm.
get did you get more than one invitation, or did you only get one?
I think I only got one.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll have to work on that. All right. But anyway, thank you so much.
I got invitations for different conversations, I guess. But this one, for this specific one, I got one, I think. But I
Okay.
think it's good if you only get one. If it directly like figures it out itself that people don't get 3 invitations for one conversation.
Oh, that's true. That's true. All right.
Maybe it
I'll
would be
have
more
to.
confusing because you don't know which one to click on.
And that's a good point, though. I'll try that. Maybe I'll just. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right. Well, listen. Sleep well, and good luck on the thesis, and keep us
Thank
updated.
you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, pleasure. Take care.
Yeah, you as well. Bye.
Bye bye.